Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're making a Get Well card for LDRS Creative using the Well Wishes stamp set. It's a cute stamp set. Love the little whales in there. So those are the images, what we're going to do. The stamp set's great for Get Well cards. And the nice thing about this stamp set is there's fine line details on here. When you stamp your images, the line on them is really nice, especially if you're Copic coloring. So we're just going to take both of the little whale images. We'll ink them up with our Raven ink pad and stamp them on some neenah 80-pound cardstock. And then we're going to do a little bit of coloring with our Copic markers. I left the caps out for you guys, and I did list the colors that I used. The colors I'm using are pretty basic, just 3 different shades. And I chose some gray purple colors for my whales. I wanted to do some whimsical whales, and I thought that would be perfect with that. But I'll play some music while I color, and when I'm done, I will catch you back. Okay, coloring is all done, and I think they look cute. I love the little smoky purple. I think it looks really nice. I'm going to use my scissors and fussy cut my images all the way to the line, and then I did take a black marker and went around the edges of my images after I was done fussy cutting those out, just to clean them up a little bit. Now I decided to take my white gel pen and add a little bit of spotted detail to both of my waves. Since my card's going to be predominantly white, I think this is going to tie it in really well and give my little whales a little added dimension. I'm just dotting the tail and adding little dots on the very top. There's little stamp dots areas, so I'm just enhancing those. But there they are. Okay, now for my background, we're going to use a couple shades of, well actually 3 shades of LDRS inks. Starting off with the swimming hole, it's going to be my lightest blue. I'm doing a little bit of shading using my blending brush here on the very bottom of my panel. Just light shading, and I did want a little bit of white area showing. This panel we're going to create some waves with, so I think if you add a little bit of white to the shading, it just looks like a frothy wave. My mid color here is BALI blue, which is really cute. Our little goat's name is BALI. I think I'm partial to the BALI blue color. And then for my very darkest color, my last color is Dark Wash Jeans. And I have a blob there in the corner. I'm trying to fix it, and it didn't fix, but I wasn't too concerned about it because we're going to turn this panel landscape style and do our die cutting, and I think I can just edit that little blob out there. The die set that I'm using is so pretty. It's called By the Sea border die, and it creates some beautiful fancy little waves with stitch detail. I mentioned this a while back, but I think this is one of my favorite wave dies. I think it's so pretty. I'm going to cut out 3 waves. You can see here I zoomed through that, and I made sure that I got each one of the colors. We're going to layer them together, and I'm just kind of figuring out my placement. Originally I was going to do this, but I decided to put the darkest color on the very bottom. I think that's going to stand out really nice. Okay, after we have this done, I want to create a background panel using another brand new die set from the June release. This is the Scalloped Rectangle Frame Set, and I'm going to take a scalloped die and then a rectangle die and layer them both together to create a real thin scalloped frame. I'm just making sure it's centered, and then I can tape them down to my white cardstock. and then run that through my die cut machine. We'll just line those up. Okay, so you can see here that's the very thin frame, but it's real pretty. Okay, I'm going to kind of lay my frame on top of my waves and figure out my placement. And then for the back piece, I'm going to slide it behind my frame, and we're going to tuck it behind there. This way I have a place to tack down my waves. So starting off with our top wave, I'll adhere that, and when I'm adhering it to my panel, I'm making sure that each one of my waves are is not the same. So this one I'm going to shift all the way to the right, and then this middle one I kind of place towards the middle, and then the bottom one I'm going to do a little shifting with it. This way I can scoot it all the way over and get rid of that blob. Okay, I'm going to take the center die that I used for my frame, lining it up behind my wave panel, and then we'll tape it down and run that through the die cut machine. Now when I remove the tape, I actually lifted up the paper. So that dark blue wave was giving me problems, but I think we can fix that with a whale. So I tried to fix it with the ink, but you could still see it. But I'm just kind of figuring out my placement. And I'm pretty sure the whale will cover up my tape mess up there. I decided to take the wave image in the stamp set, and I'm inking this up with a snowy white ink. This is a LDRS Creative ink. And you know, the funny thing is when I stamped this on my background panel, it didn't stamp white at all. It looked like a watermark ink when I stamped it on my background panel. Well, you can see on my glass mat, it's white. And it was white on my stamp, but when I stamped it on the waves, it just turned into like a watermark ink. You could still see it, and I like the detail, but it just wasn't white. But that's okay. Okay, we're going to stamp our sentiment. There's lots of Get Well sentiments in the stamp set. I chose Get Whale Soon. I think that's so cute. Stamp that with my black ink, and then I'm also going to stamp the little droplets that go above the little whale spout. I want to stamp one on my background panel, and then I stamped two on my white cardstock, but I got heavy-handed, so I'm only going to use one. But I'm going to color in my little drops here, and I don't know what you would call those. But I colored them with 3 different shades of blue, and then I fussy cut them out as well, and then trim down my sentiment too. Okay, to attach my frame to my background panel, you could use Scotch tape if you wanted, but I thought it would just be easier just to use double-sided foam tape. So I'm just making sure that the foam tape's hitting the frame and my background panel, that way it secures it. I also cut out another background panel with the largest die in the scalloped rectangle frame set. And there's little pieces that you could pop out using your craft pick, but I chose to keep those in because I think I think it looks really soft, and I like that effect. I'm just removing the release paper. We'll go ahead and add our wave panel here right in the center. And then we're going to add some dimension with our whales by adding some foam squares behind them. For the bottom whale, I just added him over my paper mess up. And then for the top whale, we're going to tuck him in just a little bit underneath that middle wave. We're going to go ahead and add the little spout droplet thingy majiggers. We're going to place them over the bottom whale with a piece of foam tape there. And once we have that adhered, you could cut those out individually, but it was just easier for me to cut the whole little cluster out. And I did choose darker colors of inks just so they pop a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add foam squares behind my sentiment. And then we're going to place that in the very top of our little panel there. Lovely. Now for bells and whistles, I'm going to bring in some Nuvo Aqua Shimmer pen. We're going to add a little bit of sparkle over our whales, and I didn't go all the way up to the top of the whale because I was afraid that the sparkle pen would smear my white gel pen. So I'm just adding it over basically the body of the whales. And then for more sparkle, we're going to bring in some Nuvo glitter drops in White Blizzard. I'm going to add a few little dots on top of the whale, and then I'll add some sparkle to the water spout thingies, and then a few little drops in that little wave area. And then that completes my card for today, guys. I think this is a cute card, and it'll cheer, because the whales are happy. I like happy whales. But I think it'll cheer anybody up. Great little get well card. I want to thank you so much for joining me, guys. If you're interested in any of the products, as always, I'll link them down below. But I wish you a lovely day. Thanks so much for stopping by, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.